Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the third hour of For the Record. The Parkland shooter trial is now in its penalty phase, and victim impact statements are continuing to be read in a Broward County courtroom. Victim Chris Hickson's family is currently delivering their victim impact statement. Take a listen. As you can see, it's been a very emotional afternoon in that Broward County courtroom with these victim impact statements. Lisa, I mean, you're a mom as well. When you see this, when you hear each family come up and tell their own account, their own statement, their own message, it's just so heartbreaking. This is going to have lasting impact on all of these people. Am I right?
Oh, yes. Catastrophic, lasting PTSD, mental health help for all of this. It's palpable. I'm all the way on the other coast, and it's palpable. Their heartfelt messages are coming through. We're getting to know who these family members lost, the beautiful lives that they no longer have with them. You better believe that this is going to have an effect on the jury. Everybody watching this is it's going to have effect on them. They have to make a decision. Do we want this man to die, or do we want him to sit in prison? I mean, that's what it's going to come down to.
Powerful. That's the only word that I can describe. As we're just absorbing what we just heard from the victim impact statements, the courtroom is getting ready for another witness. It's going to be a video one, so we're going to check back in with that in a moment. But Lisa, getting back to you, I know cases are supposed to be about facts, but when you have a case like this, where emotions are really the forefront of what is going on in that courtroom, I mean, the jury at the end of the day, they are human. And when you see this, they must think, I need to do the right thing, right?
Exactly. And then it comes down to what is the right thing. Do we want this mass murderer to sit in jail and think about what he did for the rest of his life until he dies? Or do they want him to be completely obliterated from the face of the earth, that he's gone and they don't have to think about it? It's almost as if I wish the families were polled for their own sense of moving on. What do they want? Do they want to know that he's sitting there and reliving it every day, or do they want him just gone and they don't have to think about it? What he's doing in prison. Is he going to be fighting guards again? Is it going to be on the news? Are we going to be looking at another trial? So the jury's in a very, very difficult position.
Lisa, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, we know what he did. We know it was premeditated. We know it was calculated. It's all there. We have that information as factual with all of the data and the information and the searches and the forensics that we found. All I know is that jury had to suffer through walking through where the event happened, to see carnage, to see things laying as it did that day as the school was sealed up, and now getting the victim impact statements. This ripple effect not only affects that family, but now the jury, what they need to suffer through. And then that also comes with their own families. It just continues on, and we're looking at suffering in the tens of thousands. Horrible person did.
Lisa, what would you like to add to that?
Marie nailed it. She's exactly right. As we're sitting here in our safe environments right now, we still have children going forward, going to school. Parents are still fearful that this is going to happen again. Mental health is such an issue here in the United States, and I don't see a resolution except for getting these schools better protected, because it just continues on, and a wound is open over and over again as we watch these mass shootings continue to unfold in the United States.
Lisa, I know this trial is supposed to go on for a couple of more months, but when you see these victim impact statements, is that all you need to know about the pain, the heartbreak, what this trial did to these families and did to America?
I think it's mandatory that the jury knows exactly all of the victims that were in this case, the expansion of how further it goes besides just the victims' immediate family members, who it has affected. It goes on and on and on. And part of me was thinking, as we were just listening to that young man speak about his father who was in the military, was that All right, not only did you have to deal with it in the moment, you also had to have a funeral and there was a eulogy. And now we are hearing it all over again. These individuals are reliving the horror throughout these 6 weeks of this trial to decide whether or not it's going to be life or death. So again, this wound just keeps gaping. It's opening over and over and over again for these families. And you better believe they have a right to talk about these people. It's not about that mass shooter, who I will not even say his name because that's what he wanted. It's about learning about these beautiful souls who are no longer with us.
So as you just heard from the judge, the state is resting. There will be recess for 2 weeks. The judge instructed that the jury may not visit the school site again and cannot discuss this with anyone or use electronic devices to research anything. With that being said, is that possible though, as this case is so high profiled? Lisa, do you think it's possible?
It's such a big ask. And when she went through those instructions and talked about if you're in a Publix or somewhere and you see television on, you need to, run away from it because in 2 weeks, what could potentially happen? You walk in a room and there's footage on it, and a family member is watching something on the news, and you need to run out because we're all tied to our devices. You get an update on your phone regularly with news updates. You have to not look at that. I mean, it's going to be hard to try and prove somebody did that. But like Marie said, we have a few cases where they were called out. And I think because those jurors were called out already and it was brought to the attention of the judge, at least the remaining jurors see how serious that is and how those issues were addressed. But 2 weeks, it's a big ask to kind of keep your nose clean and stay away from anything that could potentially get you kicked off that jury panel.
Well, as we discussed before, it was a big day for the jury as they had to tour the site of the school where the massacre happened, and then for them to come back to the courtroom and hear these victim impact statements. And now the state is resting. They'll have 2 weeks, a lot for the jury to take in emotionally. So there is a lot there for them. There's that factor. And of course, court is going to resume on August 22nd. And of course, we'll have all the coverage and all the recapping for you. We're going to take a quick break. So much more to discuss about this trial when we return. Lisa, how do you go about flagging something like this when millions of people use the internet every day? And also, I get back to that song, Pumped Up Kicks, because it's a song about school shootings. It was mainstream at one point.
Yes, and we also know he had commentary kind of forewarning that he was going to do something like this. And his commentary showed up on YouTube sites and on YouTube videos. So there is a system where we check for hateful speech, endangering speech, violence. And these purveyors, the people who actually own these sites, have systems in place for that. But what was interesting is that it was found 3 years later. How did that information sit there where he was forecasting that he was going to do something like this, and it still was not seen? So it just shows you how vast the internet is, from all of the social media sites to the kind of off sites, Discord, where people are able to meet and plan and do things like that. How are these sites monitored in order for this speech not to show up there, showing this violent behavior? Why wasn't anybody else reporting this? That's the hardest thing. So if you don't have the actual social media venue doing this, what about other people who are seeing this? Why wasn't that brought to the attention to the police? It's really hard to think that 3 years, a lot of that information sat there still after the fact. Doesn't make sense.
And also, when you look at all of that evidence, it also seems very calculating. He had everything planned. So it'll be interesting to see what the jury is going to think about that in the next couple of weeks. All right, we're going to take a quick break. More to cover here on Law and Crime. Stay with us.